The Detroit Lions host the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday in a really important game for both teams. Detroit is now 2-4 on the year, one of the real disappointments in the NFL. Remember, this was a 10-win playoff team last year that most people viewed as an ascending team. Just hasn't worked out that way so far. If they lose this game at home to the Seattle Seahawks to fall to 2-5, in my opinion, their season is effectively over. I know mathematically they won't be eliminated from anything, but it's just hard to imagine Detroit coming back from a 2-5 hole to contend for the playoffs, especially considering they play in a tough division, the NFC North, where the Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings are both having really good seasons so far, and the Green Bay Packers seem to have gotten it together. So Detroit needs this game in the worst way. It's also important for the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle got off to a real good start to this season, but after a loss last week to San Francisco, they're now 4-3 on the year. If they were to lose this game to fall to 4-4, a lot of people who have sort of eaten their words on the Seattle Seahawks at the beginning of the year, a lot of people would reemerge and say, oh, I told you so. Because most of the projections for the Seahawks team heading into the season, people thought they were going to be a 7-9, 8-8 type team, very similar to the Seahawks of last year and the year before, a team with a good defense that just doesn't have much offensively. And again, through the first 5 or 6 games of the year, those people seem to be wrong. The Seattle Seahawks seem to be a contender. Now, they were doing it with defense in that power running game, but hey, that's the same way the San Francisco 49ers did it last year, and they rode that style of play all the way to the NFC Championship game. And a lot of people were saying the Seahawks team looked very much like that type of team, a legitimate contender. But again, if they lose this game to this weekend to fall to 4-4, what do we make of this team then? Because the Seahawks, they do look very much like the Seattle Seahawks that we've seen over the last couple of years in that they're winning with that great defense, and they still have trouble scoring points on offense. Now, Russell Wilson, rookie quarterback, has looked better and better as the year has progressed, but still, Seattle 31st in the league in total offense, 31st in passing offense, 31st in points scored. It's tough to sugarcoat those numbers. This is just not a very good, not a very effective offense any way you slice it. So will they be able to muster enough points to beat the Detroit Lions? Detroit, when you look at their offense statistically, and this is where stats can lie because they're 4th in the league in yards per game, 2nd in the league in passing offense, but they're only 19th in points scored per game, so a lot of empty yardage so far this year for the Detroit Lions. They've not been able to punch the ball in the end zone with enough regularity. And this defense they're going to be facing this week, the Seattle Seahawks defense, as good as there is in the league. So we saw Detroit really struggle last week, only able to muster 7 points against the Chicago Bears. No reason to think they'll do much better this week against this great Seattle Seahawks defense, so I do expect a low-scoring game here. And if the Seahawks are going to win this game, then I look for this game to go under the total. The total right now on BETDAQ again is 43.5, beg your pardon. Detroit installed as a 1-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ. And funny, because I've heard a couple of people over the last couple of days say, oh, this is a trap game. This is a trap line. And what they meant by that was it's a trap game trapping you to bet on Detroit, saying, oh, Detroit's at home here only giving 1. And it's funny to think that people would be trying to trap you to bet on a 2-4 team that is playing a 4-3 team, but it's still the perception of these two teams. Even though Detroit's off to a bad start, people still have the perception of this Lions team as an explosive team that could, any week now, could explode and become that Lions team that we expected them to be coming into the season, the Lions team that we saw last year. And people still have the perception of the Seahawks as a good defensive team that can't score, not a very good road team. And true, Seattle is much better at home than they are on the road. And, I fall into the same trap of everybody else. I see Detroit, and I saw them last year, and I keep thinking, when's it going to happen for this team? I thought it might happen last week. I thought they might upset the Chicago Bears on the road. I mean, every week, I think, is this going to be the week that Detroit explodes? But you know what? I think I'm now just about officially off this Detroit Lions bandwagon. I think that what we've seen over the last few weeks, a sort of bumbling team who finds ways to lose, I think that might be just who Detroit is. And even though Seattle has a rookie quarterback, even though Seattle is limited on offense, Seattle, they haven't been a team like that. They haven't been a team that find ways to lose. This is a tough team that can run the ball. They can stop the run. They've got a great defense. and they found ways to win. So even though it's against my better judgment, picking a rookie quarterback going on the road, and no doubt Seattle's a different team on the road than they are at home, and this is probably, to be honest with you, a game that I'm going to stay away from this weekend because just about any outcome would not surprise me here, aside from a Seattle blowout victory. Seattle struggles so much on offense. I would be surprised with a Seattle blowout victory here, but I would not be surprised with a Seattle close win, with a Detroit close win, or even with a Detroit blowout victory. But if you're going to put my feet to the fire right now, I lean towards Seattle here. And you hear people say, oh, they're baiting you here. They're baiting you to bet on Detroit. I think that pretty much goes to show you just how distorted the perception still is of these two teams. People still thinking Detroit is some really good team, and the fact that they're only a 1-point favorite over a winning team should lead us to jump on Detroit, but maybe that's just not the case. Maybe the Lions are what we've seen this season. Maybe Seattle is what we've seen this season. Maybe Seattle is just a better team, and they might just show the football-watching world that on Sunday by going on the road in Detroit and pulling out a win.